Hello and welcome to Amethyst Star Crafting. My name is Jane Allmark and I'm a UK independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. And today we are looking at Winter Woods again because I absolutely love this stamp set. And I was telling you yesterday about using these lovely trees and a background in a different way. So that's what we're going to use today. So let me just sort of tell you what we're doing size-wise. We're taking a piece of Whisper White cardstock, which is 5 1/4 inches by 3 1/2 inches, and then a mat, which is 1/4 inch wider in the pool party, which is 5 1/2 inches by 3 3/4 inches, a standard mat. And then in the little scrap of pool party that's over, we're going to stamp the Thinking of You in black ink and just cutting that down with a little banner. So we're taking this part off, the this season, so it just says Thinking of You, and we're going to use that for an everyday sentiment. So let's start with the piece of Whisper White. And I'm putting a piece of scrap down and putting it this way along. And I was turning around and saying to you yesterday about the coordinating dies with the Winter Woods in the Woods, framelit dies. And we are using this little piece here, which actually cuts out, you can have it as a hill or a snowy ridge or something to build up sort of layers, but we're just actually cutting it because we want that shape. So we're cutting it through in the center of a piece of scrap paper, which is as long as the piece of paper that we want. So you can just trim it out to make it that length. And we then have two pieces. I've already done one, but it's easier to show you. So when you cut it out, you have two masks. So we are going to do exactly the same as we did before. And we're going to put one mask down on this side. And the colours we're using today are going to be Bermuda Bay, Mint Macaron, and Pool Party, because I wanted it sort of bluey, wintry type scene without it being too over the top wintry. So let's take a sponge dauber. Let's make sure that that's cleaned off a bit. I need to get some more sponge daubers, or I need to wash them because I've been using them quite a bit. And we are going to take the, what was it, Bermuda Bay, which again is the dark colour because we want the dark colour round the edge. So as we did before, we're just taking it just off the edge, just in a tiny bit, and because it's quite a dark colour, we're not going to be using a huge amount of this because we just want it for the little edge piece. So just a line down. Take your other piece and line that up at the other side at the bottom, making sure that it comes off the cardstock. And you have this rather lovely sort of wave effect, and doing exactly the same thing. So just taking it through, let me just hold it up, and just inking it just off the side there, bringing it down. Taking my fingers here, hopefully they're not too much over the shot, but I do need to hold it. As I've said before, you can tape it down if you want to. I just like to hold it because I find it easier. Okay, so that is our Bermuda Bay. So that gives us our darkest blue. And then we are going to use the Mint Macaron. And again, we're not going to use a huge amount of this. Now, this is one of the new ink pads, so you have to pull it apart, which sometimes can be a little bit challenging. So you see if I can pull it apart and then push it back on. And we are going to take, let's take this, I want that for the pool party. So I'm just going to clean off this bit, just a little bit on here so it's not too dark. And then lining up our mats again. As I say, it is quite easy to line them up. If you want to take them down, then please do so. And then we're going to take the Mint Macaron and we're going to take that from the edge and just bring it in a little bit, not a huge amount, but just a little bit, and then run it down the edge. So you're blending it in, and you're just giving just a little bit of tone running through and blending it in from the side. So again, it is quite dark at the moment, but once we've added the pool party, it should lighten up a bit. So let's take the pool party and doing the same from the outside, just bring it in. And obviously you pick up the pool party from the edges and just blend it through, but we're not doing it too far this time because I want quite a big wedge of pool party down the center. So we're just blending it through on the outside, holding my fingers across again and blending this through and taking it down to the bottom and just off the edge at the bottom like that. So we've got two sort of tones of the bluey green coming through, and then we are going to take the pool party and we're going to finish off with the pool party. Make sure that that's still quite a greeny one, isn't it? Was that one a cleaner one? Let me have a look at that. No, that's still quite green as well, isn't it? I haven't got a clean one at the moment, so we're going to have to make do with this one. Okay, so let's just line this up on here, take our pool party, and we're going to start with the pool party in the center. So I'm dabbing it because I want it to be quite sort of pale coming down through here. So let's just take it through. So we're blending it through, but not too much onto the outside because we want that pool party in the center. And all of these colors sort of complement each other because they've got that sort of greeny blue to them, which I think will actually look really nice for this this card. So let's just take that through, and again you can blend it through when you get to the edge part, but just take it through from the center, working your circles out. It doesn't matter too much if it's a little bit blobby, because when you get to doing the trees, the trees will cover up, and if you think of a background, so a sky or something like that, you have clouds and all sorts of bits and pieces like that in it, so you don't have to have it completely smooth. And in fact, in this one, if there's a few little white pieces on there, again, it really doesn't matter because the trees then just show through as a bit of a background. But I am trying to blend this through a little bit as we go. So but I'm doing it from, rather than doing it from the edge out, I'm doing it from the center out, because I don't want the outside pieces to blend through too much in, because they're dark, and darken it. When we did the one the other day with the sunset, we wanted those colours to really blend through, whereas this one we want it to be more of an edge. So I think that's going to do. Let's take the outside pieces off. Yes. Now if you look at this, you have a really nice wave effect, and you've got these different colour tones running through, which will work perfectly. Now we are going to save this little, let's get the right piece in, put this little piece down at the bottom, because what I want to do is to add one of the other little pieces, which is this little bottom piece here, which gives the grounding. We're going to do that at the end. But I need to save one of the colours out, and I haven't decided which colour I'm going to use. So we're going to take the stamp set, or the tree stamp, and we are going to ink it up. And as I said, you need to ink it up with a very good black ink, and you need to make sure that your ink is fairly juicy, because this is an incredibly detailed stamp with all the tiny little branches coming out. And you want that to show with as much detail as you can. So let's put this in the center so I don't get it all over my grid mat. And we're going to take it just off the edge, lining it up and then putting it down. And as I say, I wait for 15 seconds or so with this because you want the ink to soak into the cardstock. If you take it off too quickly and the ink hasn't soaked through, you don't have a completely dark image, and we want every single little bit of this beautiful stamp to come out. So let that ink soak in, press it as you go. Using a big block, it's really easy to do, and then when you've got it in enough, lift it up, and there you have the beautiful trees coming through, and they're coming over the top, which is exactly what we want on this one. So let's ink it up again to go through on the other side, and again make sure that you're inking it up and your ink pad has been re-inked and is fairly juicy, because you want all of that ink to go into your cardstock. I'm just moving it along so again I don't have it going on to my grid paper, and lining it up so that it doesn't overlap too much, just a little bit, because if it overlaps too much, you find that the two trees overlapping are very dark, and it almost gives like a bit of a ridge in there. So you want it to look as if it's the natural trees going across, so they can overlap a little bit, but you don't want them overlapping too much. So again, leave it down for a good 10-15 seconds. The longer you leave it and the more patience you have, the stronger the image will be, because all of that ink will have soaked into your cardstock. So let's take that off. Right, now that is absolutely lovely. So let me pick that up and show you. And you can see you've got it on this lovely wave through, and you've got a space at the bottom. Now we are going to take this mat again, line it up, because what we want to do is we're going to ground those little trees. So we're going to take this little tiny piece here and put it in on a block. So let me have a look. I'll put it in on this one. And I'm going to use, I want it to come through fairly dark, so I am going to use the Bermuda Bay on this. And we are going to, as I say, line this up because we want it to come slightly off onto the mat so that it leaves a really nice line. So lining up that mat. And then we are just going to take the bottom of this and literally just sort of dab it down a few times and move it along so it follows the contours of the piece that's underneath. So slightly on, slightly off, and just keep stamping it until you've got what you want. So let's see, have all of those trees. Now I want a little bit up there like that, and I'm going to balance it the other side by putting a little bit up on there. But as I say, get it up on that ridge and bring it round like that. So then when we take that off, you can see you've got a lovely little piece that grounds it at the bottom, but also it runs with the contour and it's not coming off. So let me show you that in closer detail. So you can see on there you've got that lovely sort of ridge at the bottom. And then we are going to use this little sentiment that we've got, and I'm just going to put it down on the bottom, just lining across like that. So I think I'm going to mount it first. So let's use our Tombow and put it on like this. Now you can put some ribbons and things like that if you want to, but I haven't got any pool party ribbons, so, and I didn't really want to use the other colours because I wanted to keep it fairly sort of neutral and not be too bright. So let's pop this on here like that and line it up the best we can on camera. And then we're going to take this little piece and we're just going to put it down at the bottom. So again, just running a little bit of glue along, making sure that you've got glue down into your points of your flag. And then lining the end up against that side, evenly sort of into that white space at the bottom, and pop it down like that. And then we are going to put it onto a card base. So this is quite a simple card, but has a lovely effect with the die, using it as a mask to come through. And so let's put this down, and the weather at the moment here, they've turned around and said over the next few days we're going to have our first frost. So this card, you could do it obviously as a Christmas card, but I didn't want it as Christmas. So what I'm actually going to do is, I have got just a little bit of, let me see if I've got it in on here. Yes, I have. I've just got a little bit of glitter glue. This is a bit of contraband, but you could use any sort of glitter glue you have, and all I wanted to do was to add just a tiny bit of sparkle on here. So I'm just literally dabbing some little bits of sparkle, as in it being that sort of frosty morning where you go out and all the leaves have come from the trees. So this is really sort of random across here, just to add a little bit of sparkle on here. Just in on here, a couple of little bits down at the bottom, which just gives it a little bit of that sort of frosty morning on there. So there we have our finished card, which, as I say, you have this lovely band of colour running through, and the trees that are coming up at the top and the bottom. So I think this is a lovely effect, and another way of using this beautiful stamp set, Winter Woods. So thank you so much for watching me. And if you haven't subscribed, please look at subscribing to my channel, because I do post regularly, and you won't miss anything then. So thank you so much, and look forward to seeing you again. Bye-bye.